Hello friend and welcome. Are you feeling overwhelmed by your to-do list, by all these things that just keep cluttering your mind even when you are trying to truly relax? If that sounds like you, this practice might be perfect. We're just going to spend a few minutes together practicing some postures that are designed to help you ground and feel reconnected with the present moment and letting go of all that clutter in your mind. All you'll need for this practice is your precious self, perhaps a yoga mat if you have one, 2 blocks, and I also have a blanket. But if you have none of those things, that's okay. You can still do this practice. You could be seated on a chair or on the ground. And take a moment to perhaps bring your hands to your lap or your knees, roll your shoulders back and down and lengthen your neck. And start to let your gaze soften down toward the earth, or perhaps you choose to close your eyes. And for a moment, just let yourself be as you are. Not only notice how you feel in your body, but let yourself become fully aware of what's going on in your mind. Notice the subjects that are recurring, the to-do list, the concerns about the past and the future. No need to censor yourself. You're just observing how you arrive into this practice. Take a deep breath in through your nose, filling up your belly, your rib cage, your chest. Open your mouth inside out, and as you do so, see if you can let go of a little bit of that mental chatter. Inhale to expand. Exhale to soften physically, mentally, energetically, letting the energy go down, down, down toward the earth. Inhale, imagining energy rise and expand. Exhale, imagine that same energy softening, grounding, and releasing. One more. Inhale. Expand front to back, side to side, top to bottom. And let go. Take a moment to consider your intention for this practice. Your intention of rooting down, grounding, returning to right here, right now, no matter what's going on in your life, in your world. Remembering that being here is the gift. Breathe in deeply. And let go. You can keep your eyes closed or open them up, whatever you want. And start to do gentle movement with your neck from side to side. Maybe you roll your shoulders. Maybe move your fingers, your toes. And then slowly bring your feet to the floor. Bring your arms around your knees. You can bring your feet as wide as you want to. And then slowly let your head go down. Maybe you sway a little side to side. Inhale. And exhale. And again, breathe in. And breathe out. Noticing the parts of your body in contact with the ground or in contact with each other. And anytime your mind wanders away, back to the to-do list, that's okay. Just as soon as you notice, come back to the breath. Inhale deeply. Let it go. Lift your head back up. Start to bring yourself toward a hands and knees position. And if your knees are sensitive, you can always grab your blanket and place it underneath your knees here. If you have your blocks, also bring them nearby, just in case you want to use them in a moment. And as you come to your tabletop, just take a moment here to find stability. Spread your fingers wide and grip your fingertips, or if it's best for your wrist, you can always. There's nowhere else you need to be other than right here, right now. Inhale and exhale. Stop the movement that you created. You may want to keep your blanket underneath, or you may want to move it to the side. It really depends on how your body feels today. And start to bring your big toes to touch. Separate your knees and send your hips back toward your heels. There's no need for them to go all the way back to the heels. And if you do have the blanket, perhaps you bring the blanket between the heels and your sitting bones. And as you let yourself go forward, consider at which point you rather bring something to lift the ground up toward your forehead. So maybe you use a block, maybe you use your arms, maybe you do take your forehead to the earth. Your arms could be extended forward or come back by your feet. But wherever you are, give yourself a few moments to surrender. And if being in stillness just produces more anxiety, perhaps you let yourself sway a little side to side, moving your hips from side to side, massaging your forehead from temple to temple, and letting yourself find a cadence of breath that serves you any time that you're able to. One more breath, inhale and exhale. On your next inhalation, start to rise, coming back to your tabletop position, taking a moment to find alignment again, to find comfort in the posture. And you can choose here if you want a more grounding and releasing shape. Keep your hips stacked over your knees and walk your hands forward. And then once again, your forehead could come to the floor, or you can bring a block on any height and rest your forehead down and then allow your chest to melt. If you wanted a more active posture that is still quite grounding, keep your hands on the ground and then start to lift your knees off the earth, sending your hips up and back and finding downward facing dog. So whether downward facing dog or puppy pose, whatever shape works for you right now. Allowing whatever arises in your mind to take a little bit more, or a little bit less rather, importance. Allowing the spaces in between one thought and the next matter more than the thoughts themselves. Two more breaths wherever you are. And then slowly bringing yourself to lay down on your abdomen. However you get there is absolutely up to you. Make a pillow with your hands, rest your forehead down. And perhaps for a moment you wiggle your hips a little bit side to side. Notice your entire front body on the earth. As you inhale, let your back body expand. And as you exhale, let yourself release, soften, and ground a little more. One more breath. Inhale. And exhale. Bring both hands underneath your shoulders here, allowing your elbows to point straight back toward your toes. Press into your hands, and on your inhalation, lift your chest a little bit off the floor. It doesn't have to go very high. And on your exhalation, press yourself back. You could come into your tabletop, or if you rather, once again, you could take a down dog, but I'll stay in tabletop. You do what works for you. Notice what allows you to remain more present, more aligned, more supported. Breathe in and breathe out. On your inhalation, whether you're in tabletop or down dog, start to send your right leg behind you. You can point your toes down toward the floor, or perhaps you point your toes out to the side and you bend your knee for a moment. And you could take a couple of circles here with your hip one way and then the other. Inhale to extend your right leg behind you again. And on your exhalation, bring your right knee to your right elbow. Right foot steps to the outside of your right hand. Now you can choose here as you extend your left leg back if your knee is on the ground or if you choose to lift it up. And also you can choose if your right toes point straight forward or if you choose to point them a little bit to the right, drawing your right knee open and finding a little bit more sensation through your hip. As always, you could lower down, but you could also lift up by using a block and lifting yourself up on it. One more breath, inhale. And on your exhalation, send your right leg back next to your left, coming back to your tabletop, or if you were doing downward dog, you can go back to your downward facing dog. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose or mouth. From whatever shape you chose, inhale, take your left leg up and back. You could stay here or turn your toes to the side, bend your knee, and take a couple of circles one way with your hip, and then the other. Extend your left leg behind you, breathe in. And as you breathe out, take your left knee to your left elbow. Bring your left foot to the outside of your left hand, and you could stay here with your right knee off the floor. You could turn your left toes to the side. Just choose what works for you and change your mind anytime you need, anytime you want. And just breathe. One more breath, inhale. And on your exhalation, take your left leg back to meet your right. Bring your big toes to touch, knees on the ground, separated, and send your hips back toward your heels for another Balasana, Child's Pose. Inhale deeply through your nose. Let it go. One more breath. Inhale. Exhale to soften. On your next inhalation, press yourself up to your tabletop, or if you rather, you can go to your downward dog. And then from wherever you choose to go, you step your right foot to the outside of your right hand, and then you step your left foot to the outside of the left hand. Both toes turn out and heels turn in, and then you can lower your hips down toward the ground. Now, several options. One, you could use a block here. Sit on your block and elevate your chest from there. You could also use your blanket underneath your heels. So if you have your blanket nearby, you can fold it as little or as much as you want to take your heels on the blanket, and then draw your knees wide, send your hips down, and lift your heart. Breathe in your garland pose. Imagining the earth catching the extra tightness, the discomfort, drawing it back in where it can be transmuted. Letting you find space in the here and now. Inhale. And exhale. Slowly bring your hands behind you. Bring your bum to the ground. You can move your blanket to the side for a moment if you were using it, or your blocks. You can shake out your legs here. Maybe you choose to roll your ankles one way and then the other, or shake it out. Breathe in and breathe out. Now start to draw the soles of your feet toward one another. And notice that you can go in the more traditional way, which is to draw the feet closer, right? But you could also keep your feet further. If your knees are floating, it may feel just fine for your hips. Or if it feels a little bit more intense than you want it to be, especially with the intention of grounding and finding yourself present, maybe you can use your blocks underneath your knees to really let you settle into the pose. Now, if you find your back rounding back a lot, it might be helpful to also sit on the edge of your blanket, and that may allow your pelvis to tip forward a bit more. Take a deep breath in. And on your exhalation, leading with your heart, let yourself go forward and down. Last thing to lower is your head. Now you could stay here, or again, if stillness is a little challenging right now, on your inhalation, draw your spine and your head all the way up. And on the exhalation, take your chin forward, take your head forward, and relax down. You can do that a couple more times, or stay in stillness. Inhale. Exhale. One more breath wherever you are. Breathe in and breathe out. Let yourself feel whatever's there to be felt. And then slowly starting to rise again. Draw your knees toward one another. Give yourself a little hug, maybe sway side to side. And from here, we'll go into Paschimottanasana, which is our seated forward fold. You could keep your blanket on your sitting bones to once again elevate your hips, but that may challenge the extension of the legs. So you consider that you can also use a block or your blanket if you're not using it already, or if you have to, underneath your knees, so you find a little bit more lift through the body, and this may already engage your hamstrings. So notice what it is that you need here. Inhale to find length through your spine, and on your exhalation, sliding forward slowly, allowing your belly to go toward your thighs first, and then allowing the fold to happen from there. Draw the attention inward. To what's truly going on in this moment. The way your body is placed and the sensations that you feel because of it. The way in which your breath is expanding and contracting as you are in this shape. The ability of your mind to settle. One more breath wherever you are. Inhale. And exhale. On your next inhalation, begin to slowly rise. Moving your props to the side, but as always, keeping them nearby just in case you want to use them shortly. And then start to lie down onto your back. Maybe you take a moment to notice how it feels to be on your back, realigning your shoulders and your spine. And for some of us, it takes a few seconds to flatten out, so honor that. Perhaps you move your knees a little side to side, keeping your feet hips distance or perhaps a little wider. Maybe there's something else you'd rather do. And if you wanted to take the next posture to the wall, if you have a wall nearby, you bring one hip to the wall and then slowly allow your legs to rise up. If you choose to do this pose in the middle of the room, like I'm going to do it, simply start to bring your feet off the floor, and you could stay here hugging your knees into your chest, and this may be where you go today. Or on your next inhalation, perhaps your legs begin to extend up toward the ceiling. And the knees don't need to be straight for any reason, unless if you want to. And you can stay here, or if you have one of your blocks handy, perhaps you lift your hips a little bit and slide your block underneath. Coming into this gentle inversion. Noticing gravity from your feet, through your legs, down your hips and your body, and once again connecting you to the earth beneath you. If your mind wanders, notice it wander and return to your breath. One more inhale. And on your exhalation, start to lower your feet. If you're against the wall, hug your knees into your chest. And you could stay near the wall, or you could move yourself away from the wall. It's up to you. Lower your feet to the ground, and maybe you stay there. Perhaps you hug your knees toward your chest. Now, when you hug your knees toward your chest, you could keep them right into the center, hugging under the knees or over the shins. Or perhaps you rather draw your knees wider toward your armpits, toward the shoulders. Stillness or movement is absolutely up to you, as always. A couple more breaths here. And once you feel complete, let your legs stretch out, maybe bringing a blanket underneath the knees to keep a little bit less sensation in the low back. Expand your arms next to your body, palms facing up if you want, or maybe rest your hands on your belly. Palms facing down to once again connect to this sense of grounding, being present. you have extra time, I invite you and encourage you to stay in Shavasana for a few more minutes, even if your mind wanders back and forth. Value the moments where you're present. If it's time for you to move on with your day, start to bring movement back into your fingers, your toes, stretch out, and eventually roll onto one side. And bring yourself up to a seated position. Maybe sit on your blanket to elevate your hips again. And allow your hands to rest on your knees with your palms facing down. Take a deep, deep inhalation through your nose. Fill up your entire body. And exhale, making sound to truly let it go. Take a moment to consider and observe how you feel after this practice. And if it resonates with you, bring your palms together in front of your heart in Anjali Mudra. Bowing your head in gratitude to yourself, to your body, to this practice, and to your ability to return to center when you remember. Thank you for practicing with me today. Be well. All right, I hope that you enjoyed this practice. Let me know how it felt for you. What shifted? What allowed you to really come to the present moment? Was there a particular yoga posture that you did in that practice that you're like, that's the one for me? What I think is important is to find the things that work specifically for you and stick to those until they no longer work, and then you can try something else. I look forward to reading you in the comments. I'll see you next time.